Chapter begins, and the preparations for the ultimate showdown between Gojo and Sukuna are nearly complete. Gojo has brought Ijichi with him, seemingly tasked with placing a barrier. However, Ijichi appears perplexed, questioning why he was chosen for this role when there are other, more skilled candidates available. Curious about the reason behind his selection, Ijichi seeks an explanation from Gojo. As they traverse the hallway, Gojo glances back, wearing a perplexed expression, and questions if he truly doesn't know. Ijichi appears confused by the inquiry. Suddenly, Gojo's demeanor becomes serious, and he provides an answer. He exclaims that Ijichi is the person whom he trusts the most, and that's the sole reason Gojo chose him. This remark ignited a surge of enthusiasm, passion, and rationality within Ijichi. The scene shifts to the present circumstances, where Ijichi is diligently placing the barrier without any hesitation. Despite the strongest man in the world standing just behind him, Ijichi remains unfazed. He reflects on his conversation with Gojo and the moments leading up to the current situation. Even though he used to evade his duties due to a lack of courage, he now finds himself entrusted with a grave task by the one and only strongest man in the world. It is solely because of this trust that Ijichi is determined to complete the task with utmost precision. He is resolute in his commitment to not let Gojo down. Ijichi shivers, his body sweating out of desperation and fear. Despite the overwhelming emotions, he remains resolute. Even if it means facing death in the process, he is determined to honor Gojo's trust this time. There is no intention of running away. Additionally, Ijichi is receiving assistance from other sorcerers this time, further bolstering his efforts. Utaheim is employing her cursed technique, known as the Solo Prohibition Zone, to aid Ijichi. As a consequence of this technique, any sorcerer selected by Utaheim, herself included, experiences an augmentation in their curse reserve and output for a certain duration. The only condition is that the subject must be within the range of Utaheim's cursed technique to benefit from these enhancements. The prowess of a sorcerer is traditionally evaluated based on their capability to forego hand signs, enabling the complete activation of their techniques. Consequently, the master of jujutsu is often referred to as the master of subtraction. However, there is an exception in the current circumstances. Utaime, contrary to convention, has omitted nothing and still successfully employed her cursed technique. Utaime diligently carries out her duties, seamlessly blending dance movements with precise hand signs. Meanwhile, Gojo stands steadfast, ready to initiate the impending battle. Through the use of a ritual, Utaime has managed to achieve 120% of the normal effectiveness of her cursed technique. The imminent clash between the strongest sorcerer in history and the most formidable sorcerer of the present world is on the verge of commencing. It remains uncertain which of these formidable men will assume the role of the challenger. Ultimately, the outcome hinges on the execution of the first decisive strike. In this scenario, Gojo emerges as the initiator. With an exclamation of 9 points, he utters certain words and executes hand signs, undertaking the first decisive task. Whatever he is undertaking, Gojo ensures to execute it with utmost power and precision. Gojo initiates the battle by unleashing his overpowering hollow technique, Purple. Remarkably, he achieves a successful 200% output. Similar to Utaime, Gojo demonstrates a seamless execution of his cursed technique, requiring not a single step to be skipped. Gojo unleashes the power of Purple towards Sukuna's location, drawing back even the King of Curses by the sheer magnitude of the attack. Despite Sukuna spreading out his hands to block, he too is affected. The destruction wrought is astonishing, reducing everything in its path, including buildings, to mere rubble. The aftermath sees structures collapsing after being reduced to bits. Ijichi's barrier proves instrumental, misleading Sukuna about Gojo's movements. The surprise attack succeeds, as although the King of Curses sensed Gojo's presence, he couldn't anticipate the immense magnitude of the attack until it was right in front of him. Following the immense destruction caused by Gojo's Purple, both men stand resolute and unfazed. Gojo wears a confident smile, while Sukuna steps forward, his figure emerging from the chaos. Although Sukuna's arms have been obliterated by Gojo's Purple, He effortlessly regenerates them using reverse cursed technique. The battle between the strongest man in history and the most formidable sorcerer of the present time has successfully commenced. Gojo firmly communicates to Sukuna, ensuring there are no misconceptions. With a triumphant exclamation, he declares him as the challenger rather than himself. A confident smile plays on his lips as he points his index finger. The strongest sorcerer has executed a preemptive strike. In response, Sukuna smirks dismissively, labeling Gojo as a damned brat. The tension between the two formidable forces intensifies. Chapter begins, and Sukuna concedes that he is indeed the challenger. A sinister smirk etched across his face. With an evil glint in his eyes, he exclaims to Gojo, expressing his satisfaction with the sorcerer's performance, in what he deems a mere surprise attack. Despite the devastating impact of the hollow purple, Sukuna asserts that it will require much more to bring down the King of Curses. Gojo remains resolute in complete silence, while Sukuna mocks the world's most powerful man. Comparing Gojo to a fish on a chopping board, Sukuna takes the liberty of labeling him a fresher fish compared to others. Nevertheless, he emphatically declares that Gojo is still a nameless fish. The tension between the two continues to escalate, with Sukuna openly deriding the esteemed sorcerer. Sukuna deploys intricate hand signs, infusing his fists with cursed energy. He stands unwavering and resolute, declaring the commencement of the battle by stating his intent to peel the scales off the nameless fish. Gojo responds without holding back, countering Sukuna's mockery by proclaiming that Sukuna likely assumed Gojo would be restrained by his appearance. However, to Sukuna's detriment, Gojo discloses that he has undergone special training. With Sukuna currently inhabiting Megumi's body, Gojo affirms that he can now unleash his full strength without any inhibitions. Gojo stands firm and resolute, infusing his fists with cursed energy as he assumes his fighting stance. Contemplating Sukuna, Gojo sees him as a copycat of Toji. Sukuna has proven his ability to survive death once before, while residing in Yuji's body. With determination, Gojo exclaims that once Sukuna is defeated, his concern will shift to Megumi. In the subsequent frame, Sukuna and Gojo engage in close combat. Sukuna attempts a kick, but Gojo skillfully evades it. Swiftly, he endeavors to lock Sukuna up and land a blow with his opposing hand. However, the task proves to be more challenging than anticipated. The ensuing exchange is marked by a rapid and furious series of blows, showcasing the incredible speed and skill of both combatants in this intense confrontation. Sukuna delivers a powerful punch, his fist slicing through the air with force. Surprisingly, Gojo gracefully lowers himself to the ground. With a subtle flick of his finger, Gojo effortlessly propels Sukuna through the air, showcasing not only his speed and agility, but also his precise control over the battle. Sukuna crashes heavily into a building, taking the brunt of the first hit and displaying clear surprise. Seizing the advantage, Gojo swiftly rushes towards him, sending Sukuna hurtling through buildings, each structure crumbling against the force of the impact. Gojo maintains absolute speed in his pursuit, but Sukuna manages to regain control over his body. With a determined effort, Sukuna stops by, dragging his feet and palms against the floor. The sheer friction generated from this maneuver carves a deep furrow in the ground. Gojo continues his rapid advance towards the formidable enemy, but suddenly he leaps into the sky. The building beneath him begins to crumble and fall as Gojo employs his curse technique, lifting the entire platform Sukuna is standing on. With a mere gesture of his finger, Gojo sends the platform hurtling into nearby buildings, creating a destructive explosion. However, Sukuna doesn't succumb to the explosion. Instead, he manages to take a stand by forcefully pressing his palms against the platform. With remarkable speed, Sukuna rushes forward, leaving the collision of heavy buildings in his wake. The sheer velocity of his movements is nothing short of incredible. Sukuna leaps off and targets Gojo, who is airborne. A smirk graces Sukuna's face as he employs his cursed technique, Dismantle, aimed directly at Gojo. Gojo, caught off guard, manages to evade the attack, but behind him, a massive slash carves through a building. Despite successfully avoiding the direct hit, Gojo is momentarily drawn towards the aftermath of the destructive slash on the building, momentarily diverting his attention from Sukuna. Seizing the opportunity, Sukuna closes the distance between himself and Gojo. He launches an explosive punch towards Gojo, but Gojo skillfully blocks it using his palm, both of them surrounded by infused, cursed energy. Meanwhile, the aftermath of Sukuna's earlier slash becomes apparent as entire buildings start to fall, descending perilously close to Sukuna and Gojo, adding another layer of danger to the already intense battle. Sukuna channels a substantial amount of cursed energy into his fist for an attack on Gojo. Recognizing the potency of the strike, Gojo carefully evaluates the consequences and decides to counter. With precision, he seizes control of Sukuna's fist. However, amidst their engagement, their attention is abruptly diverted to the building collapsing above them. A loud creaking sound and shattering glass signal the impending danger. Sukuna and Gojo find themselves inside the falling structure, yet their battle remains fierce and unrelenting despite the hazardous surroundings. Despite the cramped confines of the hallway, the battle persists with Gojo positioned on top and Sukuna just beneath him. Sukuna charges forward, aiming to land a blow on Gojo. Reacting swiftly, Gojo seizes a nearby door, wrenching it from its location and propelling it towards Sukuna. The door proves effective in obstructing Sukuna's vision, adding a strategic element to the ongoing confrontation within the confined space of the hallway. Sukuna holds his punch at one side of the door, while on the opposite side, Gojo readies himself for a massive blow. The building in which these two powerful sorcerers are engaged collapses to the ground with a resounding crash, causing immense destruction. As the structure settles, more rubble is thrown outward, and a cloud of dust fills the air, shrouding the aftermath of the intense battle. The impact of their clash leaves the environment drastically altered, emphasizing the sheer force and magnitude of their powerful sorcery. Despite the massive blow and the subsequent collapse of the building, both Gojo and Sukuna display remarkable speed, easily evading the destruction. On the other side of the thick, dusty air, the two sorcerers stand unfazed. The battle, so far, hasn't even given them a warm-up. Sukuna positions himself on Gojo's left side, both awaiting the outcome of their exchange of blows. Gojo, with a determined tone, exclaims that he'll pin this destruction on Sukuna. Sukuna, in a savage retort, questions Gojo's authority to make such claims. Suddenly, a realization strikes Gojo. Mei-san is streaming the battle. He appears both intrigued and alarmed. The city can't endure a clash between two absolute monsters, and this newfound awareness adds an additional layer of urgency and complexity to the ongoing confrontation.